Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can check out new episodes of the show every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. If you missed an episode or want to get more information about the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com. Season 1 of the TV version of Building the Future is now streaming online at buildingthefutureshow.com. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Kwame Johnson, Executive Director at Power My Learning Atlanta. Kwame, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. I think what you guys are doing is super important. But maybe before we kind of get into exactly what Power My Learning Atlanta is, let's get to know you a little bit better and cover where you grew up.
Yes, so I'm actually from Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
Grew up a very cold place. Most people know Syracuse for their sports basketball team and football team at Syracuse University.
Sure.
But actually, Syracuse, there was a report that recently came out. Syracuse actually has the highest poverty for minorities in the country. Detroit was number 3. Syracuse was number 1. So it's a pretty depressed area, a lot of poverty. I was fortunate to make it out of that situation and go to college, And in college, I decided, you know what, I want to do something to change this situation. So I decided to go into nonprofit. I actually left college when I was 19, started to work in a nonprofit, focused on education, which I believe is the fastest way out of poverty. So I've been doing this ever since, and really excited about the work we're doing with Power My Learning here in Atlanta.
Sure. No, I think that's awesome. But you did go to kind of university. What did you end up taking in university?
Yes, I went to Hampton University in Virginia on a track scholarship.
Oh, wow.
And when I was there, it was a really great school, and I actually took on an internship in Washington, D.C. for a nonprofit called the Center for Neighborhood Enterprise going into my junior year. And they focused a lot on doing work in high poverty, violent schools all across the country. And at the end of the internship, they offered me a job. So I decided to leave Hampton. My parents weren't too happy about that, and started working in a nonprofit at the age of 19, and have been here ever since, just doing work in different communities across the country, really trying to help young people reach their full potential through removing barriers that prevent them from achieving their education.
Sure. No, I think that's awesome, and it's super important, and it's awesome to have people like yourself that are willing to, dedicate themselves to improving other people's lives.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, how did you make the journey down to Atlanta?
Yeah, so I've been in D.C. for the past 15 years working mainly focused on education, different national nonprofits, most
Sure.
recently with an organization called Communities in Schools, which is the nation's largest dropout prevention organization. And have a family now, and I have some family here in Atlanta. Atlanta had always been on the list for us, me and my wife. And if you look at just some of the challenges Atlanta faces with their a lot of different pockets of poverty throughout the city and also the metropolitan. And I learned about the work that Power My Learning was doing to really leverage technology and digital learning to increase student achievement by focusing on not only students but teachers and also their parents, which I thought was very unique, and I've never come across an organization doing that. And they had an opening for an executive director, and the rest is history. I've been here a year now in Atlanta, and it's been great.
Wow, that's awesome. So what exactly is Power My Learning?
So we are a nonprofit that is leveraging digital learning to increase student achievement, and we do that in a number of ways. We're actually a national nonprofit. We started in Atlanta in 2007, but our national office actually started back in 1999 in New York City. So we have offices in New York, LA, San Francisco, and also in Atlanta. And here in Atlanta, we're really focused on high poverty Title I schools, underperforming schools, elementary and middle schools. And we're going into those schools and really helping students move forward by leveraging digital learning. So at a baseline, what we do is we go into these schools and make sure that the families and the students have these digital resources in the home. So if you think about Atlanta, no one would know that 2 out of 3 families in these high poverty communities in Atlanta don't even have a basic computer in the home,
Wow.
don't have internet in the home. These are some basic things, basic barriers that prevent students from going to the next level. So we partner with these schools, and we make sure that is met, that issue is fixed. So we go in, provide computers, which are what we call home learning centers because they come loaded with digital learning programs, coding programs, math programs, all the core subjects loaded on the device. The families come in and they go through our training so that they can really leverage these resources in the home. We know that students do much better when learning continues in the home. And for these low-income families, these families live in poverty, that's just not happening for a number of reasons. And we want to eliminate sort of the issues of them not having these resources in the home. So we provide them with the training. They come in to get the device, but they leave with much, much more. They leave with a lot of different techniques to help them learn together in the home. And then we also, in those same schools, work with their teachers to help them incorporate digital resources into the classroom. So if you think about your typical teacher, they get up, they lecture to the classroom. You may have students in that class who are behind in different subject areas, some who are above. And when you teach to the middle of the class, you sort of miss out on a lot of students. So what we do is we go in and train these teachers on how to incorporate technology into the classroom so they can personalize instruction and meet students where they are. And in most cases, they use our platform, our digital learning platform, Power Learning Connect, to do that. So if you go to our platform, there's over 5,000 different activities, games, stimulations, videos for all the core subjects. So if you have a student who's in sixth grade math and they're struggling with fractions, which a lot of students do, there's a ton of content on our platform where they can go and actually assign assignments through the platform, and kids can learn and play games and do it in a really fun way and sort of take ownership in their own learning.
Sure.
We give them those resources and move forward from there.
No, I think that's awesome. So I'm curious though, how does somebody kind of maybe let's start from kind of the kids side of things, or I guess if the school's not involved with you guys, can a parent come to you and bring their child or children and say, can you help me because they're struggling with math or something, right? Or does it have to be at the school level, or does it really matter?
It's a little bit of both. So we're a national organization, and our platform, our Power Learning Connect, is available to anyone who has internet. So a parent in any school, whether it's a high-poverty school or a well-off school, can use our platform, and it's a free resource. We have about 600,000 users across the country using it, and about 40% of public schools use it. So it's a very robust platform. We actually don't create any content. We actually just go out and find the best of the best games and learning activities that are out there already, and then we bring it in to our platform and make it available for free for families, and we actually curate it and sort it by grade level, by Common Core standard, what have you. So it's a very user-friendly platform where if you're a parent or a student or a teacher, you can go on and find content. Teachers can monitor how their students are doing and make assignments. Parents can do the same thing. Parents can sort of learn along with their child because sixth grade math is very different than it was when most parents were going through the process, and it's a lot more difficult. And we eliminate the confusion for families and parents and teachers. Right now, if you are a parent or a teacher, you go on and search through Google, sixth grade fractions, you're going to get hit with a lot of different content. And what we've done is sorted that and gone out and vetted the best of the best that's out there and made it available for free for families and teachers and students.
No, I think that's awesome. And you brought up something that I'm curious about. When you say, okay, like let's take sixth grade fractions or something like that. How is it different for like what you show the student as the parent, especially like if as a parent, like, to be honest, I don't even know if I remember how to do some of that stuff, right? And so how do you help the parent compared to the student? Like, do you obviously you display different content, but maybe just kind of at a high level, like how do you help the parent kind of teach something that they may have never learned or forgot themselves, or
No, it's a great question. So for parents, they use a lot of our videos. So YouTube and all the different video applications, there's tons of Khan Academy is another example of just different content that's out there that really helps explain very complex problems or fractions, whatever the student is working on. So a parent can watch a video, get caught up, and then be able to do the program with their child. Students, they really go for the games and the fun things to do.
Sure.
They're learning it in the classroom, and their teachers then assigning assignments to our platform for them to do when they're at home to sort of make sure they're mastering the content. So they pick a lot of the games, and we really want to make it fun for kids. We know that if students can demonstrate ownership and learning, they do much, much better. So we really focus at a young age of helping them develop those skills so that they can carry on as they go through the K through 12 system.
Sure. So obviously people can kind of start, like if they're kids in grade 6, they can start with your system, or they can kind of go right from kindergarten to grade 12. Like at any age, they can kind of join and just start, kind of their learning.
Yes, so if any student who's kindergarten through 12th grade can access our platform and have access to a ton of content and resources, digital learning resources, and that's K through 12. So we also operate in our regions, Atlanta, San Francisco, New York, where we actually work in schools. So the platform is available to anyone in any state. As it relates to our regions, we actually have partnerships in these schools where we actually have staff on the ground working in these schools, these elementary and middle schools, and these high poverty schools with the families, the teachers, and also the students. So it's a combination of both. The platform I recommend to even my friends who I meet, and I say, hey, if you have kids who are school age, it's a great resource. But then we have our ground force actually in Atlanta, New York, in San Francisco, and in LA.
Sure. So when you say you have these people in the schools working with kind of kids and teachers and even parents, what exactly do they do? Do they actually sit with students and kind of help them through different subject matter? Or is there like times parents can kind of come in and ask them questions? Or how does that exactly work when it's kind of in the school?
So that's a great question. So we have two primary programs that we implement in the schools. One is our family engagement program, where I explain that we actually have families come into the schools and actually go through our training and go home with a free computer, free home learning center.
Oh, wow.
So we actually have trainers who are on site at a school. We typically do them on a Saturday. Which is unheard of for a Title I school where you have 80-90% of the families coming into the school building and going through a 3-hour training. That's sort of unheard of. These schools really struggle with family engagement. So we're using our digital resources and coupling it with family engagement to get families in the school and get them engaged around learning. And we use technology to do that. So they come in, they sit with our trainers. We break them up into classrooms, the families, and they train. The parent trains with their student. That's a requirement of our program, that they learn together, because that's what it's all about for us. And they go through that on a Saturday, and they go home with a free device that we provide support to. If something happens to the device, we'll replace it or repair it. And then we also do ongoing workshops at the schools in the evenings, depending on the school's needs, to continue to go deeper with parents. Because many of these families we work with are just disconnected from the school, and they don't know what Common Core is. They don't know what STEM is. They don't know about a lot of these things their students are going through, and we want to help them along that process. So we do that through our family engagement work. And then we also have staff who actually are in the school working with teachers on a daily basis, doing coaching, working alongside them, helping them incorporate our different digital resources into the classroom, doing rotations where they're splitting students up and doing different exercises and using our platform. And that happens throughout the school year, and we also do workshops with teachers as well.
Got you. Okay, so I'm curious then, is the curriculum for the K-12 kind of classroom, is it state level? Is it nationwide? Is it pretty similar to that it doesn't really matter? Like, because it's got to be a huge challenge to curate content for K-12 for, the entire country.
No, you're right. So when we work with a school, it's very customized based on what that school is doing. So here in Atlanta, for example, you have a number of schools that are focused on STEM.
Gotcha.
Some are IB. Some are focused on different disciplines, and we go in and work with the school based on where they are. For us, it's about helping kids learn, regardless what course they're taking, whether it's math, science. We want to give students the resources and tools they need so that they can learn and master those subjects. So every school is different, even within a district, and of course, as you go to different states, the Common Core, and different things that each state is going to pursue is different. But we focus on working with that local principal to figure out what their plan is for their school, where they're struggling. Is it math? Is it science? Is it depending on what the course is? And then we go in and really help their teachers incorporate our resources into the classroom to really help students do better. And we can show that our schools are outperforming other schools that don't have our intervention.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So are you guys looking to expand to other cities across the nation, or does somebody kind of have to request you guys come into their state or city, or how does that kind of work?
Yes, it's a great question. We actually just completed a strategic plan for our organization, and all of our regions are in expansion mode. So, for example, here in Atlanta, we're going to grow from 8 to 40 schools.
Oh, wow.
So we're outreaching to, and that's over the next 3 to 5 years. But we're in the process now of really ramping up to go deep in all of our regions where we're penetrating these school districts at a high level and having a wide impact across the district. So we're working on that across the country in our different regions. And then our platform continues to bring on more users. We are at 600,000 now.
That's awesome.
Congrats
on that. That's awesome.
That. Yeah. Thank you. No, it's been great, and we have a team in our national office who outreaches to different districts, and that also includes other nonprofits like the Boys and Girls Club and other partners who have students and need rich content for them. So we work with all those different organizations to get our platform in front of as many students and families and teachers as we can.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. And so I'm curious. Obviously, you guys are a nonprofit. So how do you guys, like, if somebody wants to kind of donate or kind of get involved with you guys, how does somebody go about doing that?
That's a great question, and there's a number of ways. So we, in our regions, we take in volunteers all the time to help out in our schools with our training with families, or to help out in our warehouses where we're actually getting computers refurbished and getting them ready to go out to families. Because what we actually do is the computers that we donate to families, we receive them from local companies or national companies who are refreshing their computers, and they give them to us, and we bring them back to life and refurbish them and turn them into home learning centers. So we have volunteer opportunities for people to come in and help with that. We are a nonprofit. We always are seeking donations. So at powermylearning.org, you can make a $20 donation or a $100,000 donation, depends on what you can do. So there's a number of ways. We're also very grateful to be on your show. We've been the best kept secret for a number of years, and we're doing a lot now to change that. So we're trying to just get more awareness out about the work that we're doing so that more people can get involved in what we're doing. So it's volunteers, it's computer donations, it's financial donations. All are very helpful. And anyone who's listening to the show, if you could tell someone about what you heard, it just helps us get our brand out and let more people know about the great work we're doing.
Sure. So you kind of mentioned computers. Are you guys also looking for tablets and phones as well, or not really?
Yeah, we'll take any technology.
Okay.
We are doing a big push for laptops right now.
Okay.
They're very good for school-age children.
Sure.
They're portable. They're Wi-Fi enabled. And so that is a great resource for us. We take tablets as well, and we're repurposing these devices to help families in need. And across the country, there's this huge digital divide. Not a lot of people know about that. A lot of these families don't have computers or internet in the home. And in the 21st century we live in, it's just it's an equity issue,
Sure.
and it's a challenge for families.
Well, yeah, and I know there's like a huge movement around trying to make internet access like a human right, and that everybody on the planet should have access to it. And I think like we're obviously working towards that, and with companies like you guys are just bringing that forward and promoting that, right?
Exactly.
So just to come back to the laptop thing a little bit, you said you're looking for laptops. Is it Windows, Mac, Chromebook, all three? Does it really matter?
Yeah, all three.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter. Any laptop, we'll take it. and redeploy that and get to a family in need. So all of those work for us. We have a warehouse here in Atlanta where we actually get everything ready for schools. We'll probably do across the country about 5,000 devices this year alone.
Wow.
So we need more and more devices because we're growing in all of our cities, as I mentioned.
Sure.
And every school we go into has this challenge. So the more devices we can get, the better.
So I'm curious though, how are you guys solving the problem of if like a family doesn't have internet access?
No, it's a great question, and a lot of people think it's a financial barrier why families don't get connected to the internet. Okay. And in most cases it's not. It's more of an educational barrier. So if you think internet is for Facebook and Snapchat and that's it, right, then if you have a smartphone in the home, which most low-income families do have a smartphone.
Yeah, I think like Walmart has a $10 Android phone now or something.
Yeah.
So like you could basically get a smartphone for nothing, right? That most people can come up with $10 on a contract or whatnot, right?
Yeah, you have a smartphone, and the smartphone is a communication device, so it serves multi purposes for a household. So most low-income families will have one smartphone in the home.
Sure.
And then the assumption is I don't need internet. But again, for us, it's about the training and empowering families. So when they come in and go through our training and they learn about our platform that has our digital learning platform, Kwame Learning Connect, that has all these activities that their kid can use and learn and that they can use and learn, then they figure out a way to adopt internet. So about 30% of families, 25 to 30% have internet when they come into our workshops. About 75% adopt after our workshops because they then see the value of the internet as a learning tool for their child. And majority of families want to be able to help their children learn, sure, and they just don't know how, and they don't know where the resources are. So we make that available to them in a very easy way. And there are some affordable internet options out there through Comcast and AT&T and others where a family could get broadband for $10.
Oh wow, it's that inexpensive. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
there's some
that
very affordable options.
No, that's awesome.
There's some options.
And obviously, and I'm assuming, like, would you potentially help somebody outside of, your general locations if they needed kind of help with that as well, or is that something you guys don't really do?
Yeah, we do. We have a ton of resources on our website, and we have partners like N10, who is laser focused on bridging the digital divide and helping families get connected. So we have, through our partners, ways to help families get these resources and make it available to them, because we need all these families to be connected to the internet. You're at such a disadvantage if you're not.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm kind of curious to know what else you kind of see is, like you mentioned, this kind of digital divide and kind of, I think a lot of people take for granted that they just have internet, they have a laptop or desktop or both and a tablet, like people these days. But what do you see commonly that people don't have, whether it's just having internet or access to the internet and whatnot? Like, is there any other things that you guys are trying to promote or get people that, maybe people don't think about all the time that they just kind of take for granted?
Yes, it's the schools we work in, high poverty schools, do not have strong family engagement. And if you go to some private schools or schools in well-to-do areas, family engagement is just a part of the fabric of the school community. Parents are engaged; they're up to date on what's going on in the school on a daily basis. And when you have that big disconnect in low-income communities, it's like the student just goes off to school and the family's not aware of what's going on. So we're actually developing an app, a Kwame Learning app, where we can actually do text messaging and push notifications to families. So as I mentioned, most families do have a smartphone in the home, and we see that as another communication channel where we can actually inform families of their students' homework assignments and things that they need to work on or be aware of, or different activities in our platform they can access. So that's sort of the next level for us, is just figuring out how do you continue to bridge that communication gap or family engagement gap between the school and the family, the school and the family and the students, because we know students do much better when their family's engaged in the learning process. So we're just trying to figure out, and having a device in the home is one way to do that. And that's one barrier we're continuing to fight and address, but there's other barriers that just prevent families from being connected to the school, and we're going to continue to figure out ways to bridge that gap, because it's working in other parts of the city where families, have money and means to provide these resources for their child.
Sure. So you mentioned this app. I'm assuming it'll be Android, iOS?
It'll be Android, and it'll also be for iPhones. We're going to make it as mobile friendly as possible, and it's in the development phase right now. We're building that out, and that's a new addition for us, because our platform is available now, and we want to make sure we can reach families that may not have the internet as of yet and have it on their device through their smartphone.
Sure. So, what do you have a rough kind of time frame of release of this, or is it still kind of too early to tell?
Our plan is to get it done this year in 2016.
Okay.
Yes. So we're going to do a pilot in New York. We're working on that now. So this is something that's going to be coming out pretty soon. And there's been a lot of research around just text messaging in low-income families, and we're going to continue to go down that road.
Sure. No, I love it. I think what you guys are doing is super cool. So you have this web platform that pretty much anybody can use. You have a bunch of locations throughout the country, and you're looking at expanding those. You're building this mobile app for Android and iOS. Where do you guys kind of want to go beyond that? Or is that just too big of a kind of thing to think about right now because you guys are doing so much?
It's a great question, and I think we have we're laser focused on making sure we expand in our regions over the next 3 to 5 years to grow with fidelity and quality, because that's also a challenge that a lot of nonprofits face, that they can do one program well in one school, but when you take it across multiple schools, multiple districts, it becomes challenging. So
Gotcha.
That's a big focus of ours, is making sure we grow with fidelity and quality over the next 3 to 5 years. This is the first time we've grown with this level of scale, and then continue to build out the platform. I mentioned the app that we're going to be building. That's a big focus as well. But for me, my personal goal is to reach as many kids as we can. As I mentioned, my background and sort of going into this to make an impact on as many young people as possible. So hopefully, eventually, Power My Learning will be in every community that needs us across the country.
Sure. No, I think that's awesome. Just kind of to go back a little bit, I've been thinking as we're kind of talking about how to get involved, like, are you guys I know you guys are looking for volunteers and kind of laptops and tablets and whatnot. Is there anything else that, a company in Atlanta or your other locations could do? Like, part of me is kind of thinking, do you guys offer programs almost like a Habitat for Humanity, where maybe like a team or a workplace can come down and help you guys for like a day or two? Do you guys have anything kind of like that, people that want to maybe just give their time? I know you kind of mentioned volunteering, but do you have like specific things that, if you had a group of like 20 people come down and just like help you do something, like, do you ever do that kind of stuff?
Oh, definitely, and we work with a number of local companies to sort of figure out what makes sense for them. We had one company actually come in, JBN Consulting. They came in and helped us with our strategic plan, and that was something we really needed help with. We would love to have someone help us with a sort of our marketing strategy. So there are a number of other ways companies that are their line of business is to do marketing. They could really come in and help us. We're not a large nonprofit. It'd be great to have those kind of expertise in house to help us just on a number of other topics. But we would definitely entertain those kind of projects to really just help us do our work more efficiently, so we don't have to hire someone or add it to our budget. We can actually just work with a company that's already doing that work and can really help us out in a really meaningful way.
Sure. So potentially, if somebody's out there listening and they're looking to partner or donate some services to you guys in the marketing space, that would be great for you guys. Is there anything else that you had potentially could help you in the short term that somebody could maybe donate some time or some expertise to?
Yeah, I think change management. We're going through a lot of change as we grow.
Okay.
Anything in that area would be very helpful. If you think about all your major business functions, marketing, communications, strategy. We would entertain a conversation around all of those areas because there are some areas where we need more help than others, but it'd be great, in particular around marketing, if we could have someone help us in our regions, but also on a national level, just to really make sure we're getting in front of as many people as possible and telling our story in a very compelling way. We partnered. You made me think about our partnership with Turner Broadcasting here in Atlanta. They actually came in and did a free video for us. They brought out the film crew, and we needed a promo video, and they spent a few days with us doing a shoot and editing the video, and now we have a promo video, and that was something we would have had to pay for. So there's a number of ways that we would love to engage with a company or an individual that really just wants to provide help and has an expertise in an area.
No, I think that's awesome, and that's kind of why I thought I would bring it up again, because I think there's a lot of people that are looking to actually either donate time or their expertise, but they just don't even know where to start. And I think education for children, for most people, is got to be up there, right, of one of those things that they want to give back to. And I think it makes a lot of sense. So I'm kind of curious, though, to maybe we're kind of coming to the end of the show. Just for somebody that kind of maybe tuned in a bit later, do you want to maybe kind of give just a quick overview of what you guys do for the K-12 student, the family member, and then maybe the teacher as well?
Yes. So, in short, we're using digital learning to increase student achievement, and we have great results across the country that show that students who are involved in our programs do much better in core courses like math and science. These are core STEM programs that students need to master at a young age. Most of the jobs of tomorrow and of today are going to be STEM related, so we're very heavily focused there. And we're harnessing digital learning to advance. We're doing personalized instruction with our teachers and helping them drive student ownership of learning, while also using technology to strengthen face-to-face interactions among students, teachers, and parents. So if you take a triangle and you put a parent on one end, a teacher, and a student, and you draw the triangle, we're using technology to connect all three of those parties, which is very unique. You come across a lot of nonprofits that are focused on students, some are focused on parents, some are focused on teachers, but we're actually using technology and digital learning to connect all three of those parties, and I say connect, not replace. There's been a number of initiatives that have focused on replacing teachers with computers, replacing parents with computers, and we don't believe in that. We think technology should be used to enhance those relationships and not to replace.
No, I think that's awesome, and I think realistically, who knows what the future is going to hold or what kind of devices we're going to use by the time that somebody's in, grade school these days. Once they get out in the working force, who knows what type of device they're going to be using. But the fact that you're getting them into and used to technology and internet and this kind of thing is you're just preparing them and you're teaching them just basic kind of tech skills that will apply to whatever job they end up going into, right? Even if they're not in a tech job, they're probably going to be interacting with a piece of software. There'll probably be some sort of form of the internet if it's not the same as what we're currently using, right? And so I think even just the fact that you guys are teaching kind of technology skills and how to use a computer, whether that's the same form factor by the time they get in the workforce or not, the fact that they understand it and can kind of see how things change. It's not as scary as if they turn 18 or they're 20 and they get in front of a computer for the first time, right? I think
exactly.
So I think that's awesome for you guys.
No, thank you. And, in the state of Georgia, for example, in third grade now, students are going to be required to take their standardized test online.
Oh, really?
And they're going to be in their time test. So if you think about it, if you're a third grader and you don't have a computer in the home, never experienced a computer, don't know how to type, and the only limited time you have access to computers in a computer lab in your school, even if you know the answers to the questions on the test, you're at a disadvantage. So We want to make sure, we want to make sure that these students have these resources. And I mentioned the laptops we provide we call them home learning centers. And the reason we call them home learning centers is because they come preloaded with 40 different educational programs. So even if a family doesn't have internet and they don't have access to our platform, which has 5,000 activities, they can access 40 on the device. There's a coding program, there's science, math programs on the device, Microsoft Office for projects that's in the school that they have to do and to create resumes. So it's a very robust device with a ton of software on there, typing programs. There's a program called Natural Reader, which is for students who may be dyslexic and have speech problems or have typing problems to really help them work through that. So it's a very robust home learning center for the family to use to help their children do much better. But it's a big problem across the country. This is the first time in history, as you know, that most of our students, 51% of our students that are in public education, live in poverty. So the problem is getting worse. 51% of the 52 million students that populate our public education system. And for me, all the data shows the fastest way out of poverty is to get a high school diploma. So we're really working to get kids excited about learning at a young age so that can carry on and they can develop those skills and have the resources to learn throughout their process and graduate on time and ready for the next step.
No, I love that. And I think you brought up something that I think is really interesting, like you guys preload a bunch of stuff on the computer. And some of the programs that you mentioned, like coding and typing and stuff like that, like I think the running joke with me at least is like I was fortunate enough that my parents were kind of in technology and we've always had a computer in my home, like growing up, even back in the 80s. And so I understand how fortunate I was to have that. But the running joke is I used to do everything, like I used to type everything. So if you look at my like handwriting or my, printing, it looks terrible because like I just, so like I kind of lost that side of things. But I think the point I'm trying to stress here is that, typing, learning to type and potentially even code, whether even if you're never like a programmer, but it's almost a really good skill to have because even if you understand just how to program at a basic level, I think that's always something that will help you in the future because chances are you might be getting software built for you or have to deal with new features getting added. And even just as a career path, like you can make a really good living as a coder. And even by, I think 2020, they said there's going to be, well, the stats are, obviously a prediction that there's going to be like one coder for every 20 jobs, right? And I think I love the fact that you guys are getting that in front of kids young, right? Whether they become a developer or not doesn't really matter. Just having that skill set and always knowing that they can almost go back to that if they ever need to, right?
No, exactly. And another piece is that a lot of students who struggle have some kind of disability, learning disability. Okay. And we know that students, in particular special ed students in our schools, they do much better when they sort of learn on their own pace, and using our material, our resources in the home allows them sort of to learn at their own pace, helps them build confidence because they can sort of play a game and advance in that game and do well and get a reward for doing good in the game and going to the next level in the game. So it's really helping a lot of these students who have these learning disabilities, which many of our students do in these schools. So that's just another piece to add to what we've been talking about.
Sure. And I think the other thing that's kind of got me thinking about it too is when you give somebody a laptop and they have access to the internet, they can learn just through using Google. Like just having Google on a desktop a laptop with a keyboard, you can learn so many things. There's so many things obviously like that you guys are giving as well, but there's so many other things that like a lot of people that I even work with or have worked with in the past taught themselves how to program just by like Googling around or using other resources online that are free, that are just provided with your basic kind of internet package, right?
No, you're right. It's endless. Actually, this reminds me of a student we had in New York City who grew up in the projects in the Bronx, very low income, a lot of challenges, and she was able to get a computer and get the internet. And she actually said that the internet will enable her to visit Rome and Greece, places that she never imagined visiting.
Totally.
And it sort of opened her eyes to a whole other world. And now this same young lady has started her own coding program for kids, and it just really the internet and the technology just can open up your eyes, whether it's to different coding programs or to a place you've never visited that will spark your interest in something else. It's just endless. So we want to make sure at a basic level that these families have access to these resources.
Love it, man. Well, we're coming to the end of the show, so maybe let's close the show with mentioning again where people can find you guys online and any other kind of social media links you want to mention.
Great. So we'd love for many of you all to just get involved, to visit our website, which is powermylearning.org, and learn more about the great work we're doing to really increase student achievement through digital learning across the country. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. It's Power My Learning. All is one word. PowerMyLearning.org is our website. Love to learn more about what you're doing and help you get involved with what we're doing.
Perfect, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to be on the show. I look forward to keeping in touch with you and kind of seeing where you guys take this thing throughout the rest of the year. And I'm excited to check out the app when it comes out later this year and, see what you guys end up doing in 2017 as well.
No, thank you, Kevin, for having us on the show, and you're helping us sort of build that brand awareness, and we're a step closer to becoming a household name. So thank you for having us on the show and for us to be able to share what we're doing with your listeners.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm happy to connect you or help you in any other way I can, anytime in the future. So do reach out and let's keep in touch. And, thanks again for doing this.
Great. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Bye. Thanks for listening. The music for the show was done by Electric Mantra. You can check them out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.